everybody. Today I'm going to talk to you about putting the heart into SEND and how together we work through the EHCP process because um, I think that we're at a point now more than ever where we need to start to work together again. I think that we've got 2 or 3 months before we get the SEND reform shared to us, and it'll be interesting to see if they take on board anything that we talk about today. So I'm Sally Glossop. I'm the head of SEND for a local authority. I'm a play therapist, a teacher and a youth worker. And I've got over 30 years experience of working in SEND. It's been the area that's been really important to me. It's my lifeblood. I really believe in championing the causes of those who aren't afforded the same opportunities as others. So I've always wanted to make a difference, and my passion is inclusion, valuing differences and acceptance. And I think that's what I want to try and reflect through my talk today. So now more than ever, we can take a breath and say, oh, the possibilities. I think that the COVID-19, from crisis comes opportunity, and from this COVID-19 and lockdowns and more lockdowns and schools open and schools closed and schools open for children who are vulnerable and schools open for children with education healthcare plans, we need to reflect and rethink our processes. We know what things can work. They don't have to be the things that we've done because we've always done them. We can offer blended learning. We can take things that work at home. We can go outside and enjoy the great outdoors more than I think everybody is enjoying the great outdoors. If you had been on my journey back from doing my horse essential agricultural duties this morning, I was amazed at the number of people who are out walking because the sun was out. We know that blended learning can work. We know that we can assess without exams. And I think that's the bit that we really, really need to think about is what are the outcomes for our children? What do we need? Can we have an all stop and a rethink? It's not just about academic attainment. Life isn't, if I was judged by my academic attainment when I left school, then I would be a failure. But I went away and did things and made a difference. We know that we need to question these outcomes for our children. We know that things must and will be different. So before 2014, I think we were clearer on a graduated response. I think we were clearer, although it's not made reference to until 2014. We've started to use generic terms like send support, and I'm not sure what we mean, and I don't think our families and children are sure what we mean, and I don't think a lot of our teachers are sure what we mean, and I think if you're a SENCO, sometimes we're not sure what we mean. So we sort of miss out a number of stages. We have our children, we work with our children, there's a problem, and we leap to an education healthcare plan, needs assessment, and we leap to the idea of specialist provision far too quickly, in my opinion. So I'll talk about the graduated response because I think this is where we need to start to really think about what we're offering our children in our schools, and as SENCOs and families, what we'd expect for our children and how we go through those steps. So at a universal level, we know that we don't have a prototype of child that walks in. Every child is different, and at universal, all children should have learning that allows for their learning style, interaction, and encourages interaction and engagement. We know we can do this now because we've done it so well in our other guises through our blended learning, how we've adapted our Zoom calls, how we've made it for the ones that find it really hard to sit at the computer, how we've said hello to everybody's hamster, kitten, mouse, not ponies, I don't know, well, pony maybe. We've all of those things that we've done at that universal level to engage our children virtually, and all of the things that we're doing with our children as they come into school to engage them. You know your seating plans, that's all universal. At Universal Plus, it's those added extras we might do to make sure that we're reaching everyone. So we might know that some people need a writing frame because they can't just creatively write. We might know that some people need some simpler math set for them so that they can get the handle on. We might know that some people need to have a memory. But we shouldn't just aim for the middle hit and hope. We should be offering differentiation and scaffolding throughout all of our learning experiences. I know there's a debate about whether it's scaffolding to build them up to where they should be, whoever decided that, or it's differentiation. I personally prefer us considering differentiation, because then we know that we're dealing with different learning styles. There's always a bit of me that wonders whether we should get rid of the word special in special education, because are we making it too specialist and too inaccessible for our mainstream schools and our families, thinking that there's something else that they need? At targeted, those are those interventions that we need to use to make a difference and ensure access. So we've got accelerated learning. We used to do that, didn't we, when we were trying to get kids up to level 4 in year 5, we'd put all these interventions in. I think accelerated learning, it has a place, and then we have our playtime skills and our quiet spaces, workstations, visual supports, all of the things that we put in place to make sure that we are adjusting our classrooms and creating environments that encourage learning for all. And then we go to targeted plus, those interventions that will require us to engage external professionals, advisory teachers, educational psychologists, outreach services. And so at targeted, that used to be called school action, and at targeted plus, we called it school action plus. We seem to be missing those levels out and going from universal straight to specialist. And that worries me, because that means that our families only think that their children's needs can be met through an education healthcare needs assessment and an education healthcare plan, when we all know that isn't the case. So at specialist level, these are the interventions that require highly individualised learning, one-to-one sessions, an individualised curriculum. Some of them may benefit from a more micro environment, and might need to look at a special school or specialist provision. And then we talk about Specialist Plus, and this is that very small percentage of children who require intense multidisciplinary support, both at home and at school. And home may be at risk of tier 4 interventions, such as hospitalised beds. So if we work to the graduated response, we'll be able to demonstrate the needs and interventions of our children, and will be specific and will be appropriate for each individual. We won't be pulling out kits. Simple. Well, is it simple? There's so much work for us to do to rebuild trust in families and create true co-production. Although I prefer the phrase participation. Grace Over, who is recently, I was listening to her speak, and she was talking about co-production not really being a very helpful word, that participation means you're part of it and included. And I think that if we start to think about our work when we're working with our families and children, if we're asking them to participate in the process, it gives it a much more familial relationship rather than this co-production. So we're all about the process and the product. We're not about a journey together. We do need to recognise that professionals need space, as do families, and most importantly, young people. What we must have is the child at the centre of everything that we do. So if we are going to keep the child and the family at the centre, we ought to think about a person-centred approach. And this was the intention of the Children and Families Act, but I think that the processes have overtaken, and we've lost the child and the family behind a load of different ways of. The process is very much steeped in a legal perception. If you look at IPSI guidance isn't about the legal side of it. The IPSI guidance quite often steers us all towards a legal that, and it rekindles that whole thing that if you've got a child with SEND, then you have to fight. And what we want to do is stop people thinking that they have to fight, and start people believing that we want to work together. If we put the child at the centre of our work, then we can know we did the right thing. We can know that we took into account everything about that person, that whole 360 view of them, their abilities, their skills, their goals, everything, their values, the family's values, their style of learning. It doesn't mean that we can always say yes to everything or agree, but we need to share our thoughts and reflections, and we need to listen to each other, because we need to find the right outcomes in the way that we can, as locally to home as possible. And I always like us to think of section A of a plan and the family conversation. Do we listen to the story? Do we use it to inform the next sections? Do we go through a process where we just let them write, shove it in? Are we really, really being person centered? And if you take anything away from this session, I think one of them is can you genuinely think that you are person centered? Have you genuinely thought about all of these elements of this? And once you can the other important thing to mention is have we worked with our health and social care colleagues to make sure that we have a rounded picture of our child, and have we got robust systems to involve each other? Then we need to think about describing need. I think this is the bit when we look at plans. This is where we describe what the strengths and difficulties are for our children. But we paint a picture so that all who work with a child understand and know that child and understand. So it's not just it's a deeper understanding. It's knowing every muscle of that body, and so that when you are working with that child, you are making sure that you are getting everything right for them. And it's not about chance or hidden hope. It's about we have now described this child's needs so we know them inside out. We know that they really, really struggle with noise and need opportunity to be quiet somewhere. But at this point, at this point of the plan, we are saying they find noisy environments a challenge. We're only describing the need. And I think where we get in a muddle is, and I did it myself there, you describe the need and you immediately go to the solution. The way that an education healthcare plan is structured is that we really look at the need, the strengths and difficulties of our children, and then we look at what we want to achieve, and then we look at what we want to provide. And I think that's the key challenge that we have. We slip into those descriptions, we start to talk about the solutions, and we don't focus enough on really understanding the need. When we look at our outcomes, I get quite frustrated quite often because our children are expected to cure themselves of all ills. They're supposed to manage to make eye contact when that's probably the most difficult thing for them and something that they'll never achieve. They're supposed to be able to be really social, pick up friendships, have interactions and conversations when those are the last things they want to do. And we're almost trying to, if we take the instance, we're almost trying to cure them of autism rather than accept that as part of their whole self. I've put up here Every Child Matters, which was a document in 2003 that for some reason we moved away from. But actually, if we look at what we're doing now in 2021, so nearly 20 years later, and we're looking what we're learning from COVID-19, what we're looking at is creating, at the moment, these should be our focuses, that the children that we're working with are healthy and well, mentally and physically, that they are safe, that we're keeping them safe, and that they feel safe, that they're enjoying and achieving through learning. And I think we've seen some amazing examples of remote learning, and we're also seeing some amazing teaching. That they can achieve economic well-being, that they know and understand how to do finances, that they are able to work to the destination of a job if that's what they want, and that they're making a positive contribution to society, and they're part of a community. So I've put that there because I think we really need to think about our outcomes. We need to be specific. Do we write provision to the child or to the services available? And that's something else that we need to think about. Do we have the child and young person's voice embedded in this? Many of our young people don't want the destination that their parents thought they wanted, but their parents have been advocating with the best intent, and that sometimes we get conflict. But we need to really be thinking, how have we got that child and young person's voice embedded in this? And if we haven't, what are we going to do about it? And are we focusing on the destination learning? Are we focusing on where we want these young people to be? It might be that our young person doesn't want to have his own flat and go to university. It might be that what they want to do is set up their own business selling jam and live in supported housing. We've got to listen. We've got to make sure that what we're offering is the right offer. Not many of uh, not many of our children want to get 6 GCSEs and go to university, but they feel the pressure. So I think it's really important when we're looking at our outcomes from the beginning. So from when a child is 2, we've got in our head the preparing for adulthood outcomes, because then we can think about what will we need to do for independent living. And if you're 2 or 3, a lot of that focus will be on primary care needs. It will be, are you able to go to the toilet? Can you eat properly? Have you got a balanced diet? And what are we doing to make sure that we haven't got a family who are isolated? How are we including that family? How are we making sure that everybody is well? Because at this point, we're looking at it from a whole family perspective, but we're always on the journey that we're preparing for adulthood. That's where we're all going to end up. This is so for our if we took this for all of our young people and the experience they have now, how employment ready will they be? How independent will they be having spent so much time at home? How included do they feel? And how well are they mentally? So these, like I said, we build on every child matters, and I think they should be our starting point from when they're tiny. So as soon as you start to think about the special educational needs of a child, you need to be thinking about these outcomes. So what is it that is stopping them accessing learning that will prevent them being part of their community? What is it that is stopping them learning that will make them ill? So a lot of our children are struggling with the busy environment of a school. But we know now we can do things differently. We need to have high aspirations, ambitions for our children, so we support them to get to where they want to be. We need to make sure that we've put all of the right things in place so that they get to where they need to be. So what we need to do as well is we need to stop being so risk averse. We need to take a jump and build wings on the way down. We need to take those risks. We need to be bold and brave about some of these expectations that we lay on our children. And finally, we must be ambitious for our children and young people. We really, really must, whatever the impossibilities and the barriers that are in the way, we must be brave enough to rip them down. We must guard against the process taking us over as we're pressured to attainments and we're pressured to KPIs. We've got 20 weeks to get this document out. We'll cut and paste. We must absolutely guard against those processes, taking the heart out of everything. We need to put the heart back. We must be respectful. I've said we've got to be brave and courageous and take risks, but we do this respectfully. We do this with permission and in partnership with our children and families. They must not be done to. We must work with each other. We must listen to hear and not to answer. And that's really hard. But we must listen to hear is the most important bit. I recently have started when angry people write emails, which happens in all of our lives, isn't it? Is saying, instead of saying, shall we meet to discuss? I've been emailing and saying, shall we meet so I can listen? And it's changed the tone every time I've had a meeting since then. If we've done all of these things, we'll be confident that we've worked with heart and integrity. And if we work with heart and integrity, then we know that we are getting it right and we have the child at the centre of our practice and we do it with heart. Thank you all for listening to me.
Hey, it's Ian here at Studio TV. Thank you so much for joining us here at Getting It Right for Me Live. Let me ask you a really quick question. Are you here because you are hoping to develop your skills and your knowledge and all your learning and understanding around supporting and caring for children and young people with special educational needs and disabilities? I assume that's what you've come here for. We hope that you're enjoying your time here with us. There's some amazing people, and we're so grateful for them coming and being part of this. And we're so grateful for you to be joining us as well. There's a couple of things I just really quickly wanted to introduce you to. First of all, don't forget that you can upgrade your ticket at any time to one of the paid tickets, which we try to keep the price as low as we possibly can, just to cover what we need to help out the speakers a little bit, and make sure this event is as good as it can be. What that means is you can access the live Q&A sessions that we're running throughout the event, and you can access all the sessions for up to a year afterwards if you buy one of those paid tickets. Check out the whole school ones. How that works is if you book a whole school ticket, and you can pay online or you can drop us a line and we'll issue an invoice and we'll sort it all out. That's absolutely fine. But we'll then make it possible for all your staff to be able to access all the sessions here at Getting It Right for Me Live this year. So do hope that's helpful. The other thing I want to mention is, and there are lots of members joining us this week, so thank you so much to those of you who are members, but we have put together, if you're looking to go deeper and access ongoing support and help and training, either as an individual, as a parent, as a professional supporting someone with additional needs, in a school or educational setting, or from a professional point of view, we have put together here at Studio TV with Lynn McCann and her team at Reach Out ASC a fantastic membership that starts at just £10 a month and includes a wide range of courses to help you support those in your care. There's a load of resources and tools, printable things that you can use to work with those children and support them. And there's more content being added all the time. One of my favorite parts of the membership is there is a peer group community that's built into that. So you can ask questions of Lynn and her team and your peers, built right into that membership as well. As I say, it starts at just £10 a month. Whole school memberships are there. We're offering trust-wide memberships, and local authorities have started to get in touch and offer this to their staff across a range of schools as well. We would love for you to join our community. If you've got any questions on that, drop us a line, but very much hope to see you there. And thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the event.